Welcome to the Bob vs. Willie show. You guys know what we do here if you've been watching. It's about Bob versus Willie. He's Bob Gersten. I'm Willie Witten. We bring up some lists and we have a little chat about them. Bob, who are we chatting about today?
Buddy Guy.
All right, Buddy Guy, we're going to talk about his 10 best songs according to each of us. You want to start this off or should I do it?
You go ahead.
All right, I'm going to start with number 10. I'm going to go with Mary Had a Little Lamb. Yes, for those who don't know Buddy Guy, that is actually the Mary Had a Little Lamb. I pick it not because it's necessarily so great, but I think it's indicative of who he was as a guitar player. Early on in his career, he takes a children's song, turns it into something that's palatable for adults. Bob, what do you have for 10 and 9?
Well, for number 10, I have First Time I Met the Blues, and that's from his 1970 album, I Was Walking Through the Woods. And it's a good way to get an early dose of Buddy Guy because this song was originally recorded back in the early 60s as a 45. For number 9, I have Sit and Cry the Blues. And that was released a couple years earlier than that first one from 1960 I just mentioned. This is a 1958 one, again released on 45. And this thing gives you a sampling of why he was influencing all the great guitar players from Hendrix to Clapton on down the line. And the song was written by Willie Dixon, who wrote a lot of the stuff that he recorded.
Yeah, Willie Dixon, that's the same true. The Doors, Zeppelin, there's a lot of Willie Dixon flying out there. For number 9, I picked Skin Deep off of Skin Deep. It's with Derek Trucks. I do like the song. I picked it more because I like some of the guitar work, and it's indicative of that he had more range than just straight blues. 8, I Suffer with the Blues. For I believe it's a second album. Left My Blues in San Francisco, 66. I chose it because I believe it's the best cut off that album. That's a great early indicator of who he's going to become. Bob, what do you have for 8 and 7?
Well, for 8, I have Skin Deep, which you already listed. And then for number 7, I have Stone Crazy. And that was, again, from 1970s, I Was Walking Through the Woods album. And is another gem that is really a great Buddy Guy classic.
All right, for number 7, I have 99 and 1/2. That's off of Bring 'Em In. And then 6, I have Cut You Loose, also off Bring 'Em In. For me, with that album, what I like is it's fuzzier. It's more electric. It's a little funkier. Sort of the same way where Muddy Waters eventually did Electric Mud. Later on, when Buddy was in the early 2000s and 2004, if you like that fuzzier Hendrix-y type sort of colorful rock version of the blues, I think there's some pretty good cuts that people will enjoy off that album. And those are my 2 favorite.
Well, I really like 99 and 1/2, although I didn't have it on my list. It's a Wilson Pickett song. And Otis Rush did it back in 1967 as well. For my number 6, I have another one that you already did, and that's Mary Had a Little Lamb. And for number 5, I have Damn Right I've Got the Blues from his album of the same title.
Damn right, I got the blues at number 5. You'll see that on my list. I have it a little bit higher. For number 5, though, I've got Buddy's Blues, and I picked it because it's from an album with Buddy and the Juniors. There's a little backstory there. He got cut, something to do with the label. He didn't have the money to go ahead and get out of town, literally. So he sort of cut himself a record with the Juniors, one of them being Junior Wells, who he played with frequently throughout his career. It was very impromptu, acoustic. I really enjoy the rawness of it. Number 4, I have Tramp, which is the opposite of that. It's off of Sweet Tea, and that is, like I said, the opposite of acoustic, full-on electric, very loud, very in your face, but it's a really great tune. So that's why I've got those there, a little tale of 2 opposites.
Well, I've got a song here that you already did. And Well, you didn't do it yet, but it's called Baby Please Don't Leave Me. And this one is again off the Sweet Tea album. That's a really good album. It produced an awful lot of good classic songs that were really Buddy Guy heavy on the guitar. And the reason it's called Sweet Tea is because it was that's the name of the studios that they recorded it at. And then for number 3, I have Blues Don't Care. And that comes from his 2013 album, Rhythm and Blues. And he actually does that in tandem with Gary Clark Jr.
Okay, yeah. When you said I already mentioned it, I think then you already beat me to the punch. If I like Tramp, I'm going to have Baby Please Don't Leave Me, but not yet, Bob. For my number 3, I have Damn Right I Got the Blues. You had it at 5. I think it's very much one of the best examples of his sort of middle work in the 90s. The guitar is still pretty clean. It's off an album that has a lot of different players on it and some great covers. This was the original. For my number 2, I've got Talking About Women, obviously, also off that album, the impromptu album with the Juniors. It's the lead-off track on that one, and I like it because there's so much dialogue. To me, I picked it because it's so raw and so informal that it gave me the idea that this is how old bluesmen would sit around and talk about when they weren't recording or playing live. Bob, what do you have left for me?
Well, for number 2, My Time After a While, which is another classic. And on this particular recording, he was doing it with Buddy Miles, who would be playing with Hendrix and a little with Band of Gypsies in a little while. And then Jack Bruce, who just left the Cream with Eric Clapton. So this is really a pretty good recording. And I mean, with some classic musicians in it. And then for number 1, I have one that you did, Tramp. And I thought that Tramp, again, from the Sweet Tea album, was one of the best songs on that album, and one of the best songs if I wanted to give somebody an example of Buddy Guy playing guitars that I think would influence them. You know, it's like the type of style that he plays that I enjoy the most.
Okay, we're on a lot of the same page here. Not the exact same order, but my number 1's off the Sweet Tea album as well for all the things you said. One you already mentioned, Baby Please Don't Leave Me. What you said about Tramp, I think, is applicable to Baby Please Don't Leave Me. It is this great sort of very vibrant, very great mix of the old clean blues, but also played with a little more studio, I don't know, oomph. It's one of my favorites. Anything off the Sweet Tea or really anything off Bring 'Em In. I looked at those heavily. Some of my other picks, Bob, I have them spread out a bit because I want to give a little bit of a taste of all the different facets of Buddy Guy. Are there any on my list that you thought were completely just not deserving? We had some of the same stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, where you had I Suffer with the Blues.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, kind of like a gospel harmonization thing, which was okay, but it didn't make my list. And then the other one, your number 2, talking about women, obviously. I mean, to me, that was okay. And I agree with what you were saying about it, about the blues guys sitting around and talking, but I didn't feel that it deserved to be in a number 2 spot. I mean, I thought it would maybe be a little higher up, 9 or 10. But other than that, I liked your list. I thought it was good. I mean, he's got so much stuff that you could probably make 3 or 4 different lists, which is all be arguing with each other.
Yeah. And so speaking about how much stuff he has, when we look at just the length and quality of his career, we're talking top 10. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it. For you, Bob, does Buddy Guy qualify as a top 10 guitar player of all time?
Oh, I would definitely put him up there just because of his influence. his influence. Oh, I've seen Buddy Guy in concert a half dozen times over the years, and the thing is, it's like there are some concerts where he would play his ass off, and then there were other concerts where he would just stand there and bullshit. and it might depend on which concert that you saw. I remember one time when I saw him, he was talking so much that the audience kind of got distracted, and they started talking, and ignoring him. And he got mad, and he says, "Shut the F up! You paid money to see me." So he's kind of an interesting sort of guy.
He is. There's all sorts of great Buddy Guy stories. Those of you out there, tell us some of your favorites. I'm sure some people, if you're tuning in, you've seen Buddy Guy live. Tell us what you thought about our list. Are we a couple of bumbling morons, or do you think there's some credence behind some of the songs that we selected? Until next time, though, he's Bob Gersten. I'm Willie Witten. This has been Bob versus Willie.